Okay, you're talking right now.
I didn't know you were recording.
I told you when I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go, babe.
All
That's all
right.
right. You can cut this part out.
I will come back down for 1 o'clock for you.
No problem, baby. I love you.
Love you.
Okay. All right, folks. So, little interruption there at the beginning, but you know what? That's the way life is. Anyways, thank you, you beautiful people from Snakes and Coffee, you animal lovers, we are back again with my friend Arie. This time, we're going to go down to Belize and check out how Arie, does all this work and that. Something comes up that, he really didn't have to get involved in it, but he did it anyways. And it is one of those iconic lizards, okay? So funny that this animal is so iconic that people actually put it in another department. When you say iguana, some people will look at it and go, "Oh, well, iguana is an iguana, but it's not. It's an iguana reptile. It's not a lizard." And I'm like, "No, actually, it's a family of iguana, right?" But the green iguana, one of the most iconic lizards in the world, right? Both me and Ari, I know that we have a love for that animal. As years have gone by, a huge respect for this beautiful creature that has so many things about it, and stories you've heard from people. Anyways, we're going to go down and see what Ari does when he comes across a bunch of eggs. So, guys, get ready to look, and Mr. Ari will be on the camera in a minute. Hey, sir, how's it going today?
Awesome. Any day in the jungle is there's no complaints about living in the jungle. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
So yeah, we're
yeah.
good. We're good.
Okay, I got snow in my front yard, and I got to clean
Yeah.
out the van later to go out. And you
Yeah.
don't have to do that. Um,
No.
you just basically go out and have a nice warm day, right?
Yes and no. Actually, today's actually a sunny day, and
Yeah.
it's really the first sunny day in about 2 to 3 weeks. Like we got hit with a late rainy season, and we've been getting rain almost on a daily basis for the last 2 weeks. And it's interesting because it's obviously not cold, and it's obviously not the winter blues. But what we get here with the rainy season is mud, and it's kind of hard to articulate, but it is a frustration. It's like when things are slushy back in Canada, that
Yeah.
slushy aspect where it's like you go to the grocery store, you come back and your boots are wet. It's
Hmm.
like this sucks kind of deal. And it's like now I wear rubber boots, so I'm never wet per se, but sloshing through the mud does get a little bit frustrating and tiresome, but we're having a sunny day, so we're good. We're good to go.
Okay. Well, I was looking at some of your videos you sent to me. Really enjoying that myself on a personal basis. But
Yeah.
to share with the folks out there, one of the things I saw was the fact that you make your own cement, right? And
Yep.
so you have to bring in sand and gravel and stuff like that. And for
Yep.
some reason, there are certain creatures that find that quite the perfect little place to put a nesting situation.
Yes.
So you have been digging out, and because you love your animals around you and that, you bumped into some eggs, and you knew right away what they were. And what eggs were they actually?
Green iguana.
Green iguana, probably one of the
Yes.
most iconic reptiles in the world.
Yep.
I love drawing them, and you love seeing them. Now, do you see them quite
Uh,
often?
Actually, hold on a sec. I just
Oh,
have to, I'm going to kind of do a bit of a break just because we are talking about iguanas.
oh, okay.
And, anyways, um, in the
Ah!
background there is,
Oh my god! Oh
yeah,
my god!
you did that painting. I almost want to feel like over 20 years ago. And actually, it's funny because I mean, you know what I did is I'm going to pull this. This is a crocodile book, right? Because I have a few reptile books here. And
Yeah.
anyways, I had very carefully put it in that book so that it wouldn't get damaged. And
Oh,
so, but like I bought, I mean, like I said, it's been down here for over, I mean, I think you probably did it for me almost 20 years ago.
oh, gee.
And, but it's probably spent the last 10 plus years easily down here in Belize, tucked in that book. And finally it's like, hey, I got to kind of put this up on the wall. And so yeah, so you did that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could have been 25. I don't know, 2025. Who knows?
Yeah.
Years ago. And part of the reason, well, I mean, it's like when it comes to, it's interesting because obviously me and you have a history in the reptile industry, uh, retail, wholesale, like purchasing, selling, like so many different types of lizards. And to this day, the green iguana has always been one of my favorites. Like certain
Yeah.
lizards, like for example, like for me, like a leopard gecko, obviously a very common pet, but for me, it's like seeing so many of them, it's like, it's a leopard gecko. But
Yeah.
a green iguana in the same category of buying and selling them for decades and decades, still one of my favorite iconic lizards, one of my very first pet lizards that I've ever had. And it's actually really, really cool to actually live in a country where they are native. And so I never get bored of seeing green iguanas. And any chance you know what I mean? Like, yeah, whenever I see one, definitely a very happy camper.
Yeah. I find green iguanas are like a snowflake because they all look a little bit different.
True. Yeah.
And then depending on the area where they're from, and that can make a big difference. And then their coloration and that, it's just wicked.
Yeah. So in the wild, because obviously it's a whole lot different than in a terrarium versus in the wild. So in the wild, generally the iguanas are more common around the riverbanks or on riverbanks, up in the trees, or anywhere around water. Mm-hmm. So I live right on the Belize River. So if we were to go to the river right now, it wouldn't take long before we would hear some scurrying. Mm-hmm. And generally, the closer we get to, it's very, as a rule, they're kind of hard to find because they're way, way up in the trees. But if at some point you end up getting a little closer than they like, then you hear like this big plop where they've literally launched themselves into the river and then they're gone. The other area where I find them commonly on my property is I have two large, what I'll call fish ponds. Maybe we'll call them turtle ponds for the purpose of this video. They're 300 feet by 50 feet wide by about 10 feet deep. Anyway, so they're quite long, quite large. And I have a lot of green iguanas in that, like basically surrounding the ponds. And if you kind of sneak up, kind of quiet, you can see in a distance, you'll see them sunning on, like, cause basically what happened, I don't want to make this story too long. An excavator dug it. So they have these big mounds between the ponds and on the edges of the ponds. And so the females and the male, they like to sun themselves on those mounds. So yes, anyways, because the water of the pond, so anyways, yes, you'll find them quite commonly around the edges of the ponds. And once again, it's pretty much a guarantee if you were to walk around the ponds that eventually you will either hear them scurrying and eventually hear one kind of drop in the water. So yeah, so they're more, so I don't want to say it's rare to see them away from water, but it could actually just be the fact that you just can't see them, period, because they'd be so high up in the trees. But if you're near water, for sure, guaranteed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing about them. It's absolutely where they want to go and retreat back for safety. Now, you're making your own cement, right? You're doing all that. You've got all the product there. You're digging away, and then all of a sudden, what do you find?
Yeah, some iguana eggs. So that was earlier in the year, back in April, and it's actually the second year in a row. And found some eggs and very carefully dug them up because iguana eggs, well, reptile eggs, period. Not like a chicken egg that you can turn. Reptile eggs you can't turn. So a lot of times, especially when you dig up something accidentally, but these ones, the last batch I had, very carefully placed them in a little homemade incubator that I made with some coconut fiber. Put them up in my loft. I just sort of literally above the phone here, I have a bit of a loft, and I would say it's the hottest part of the house, kind of like a typical attic. And just put them in a bin and just put them up there and let them do their thing. Just periodically, just double check to make sure there's still sufficient moisture, which there generally is. Maybe I might add moisture or water maybe once throughout the whole process, but yeah.
Now, how many eggs was it?
19.
19 eggs, yeah. Now, before we go any farther with that, I wanted to ask you a question because it's been on my mind a lot, and that is your breakfast. We were just talking about having breakfast, and
Yeah.
meals and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how does that go for you? Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do you have? I know you have chickens there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know to what extent you go with the chickens. Like, do you actually every once in a
Oh.
while give yourself a full big chicken dinner, or do you
Oh.
just eggs? How does breakfast go?
Well, I don't eat chicken for breakfast. So okay, so I'm actually a really fussy eater. So I'm like
Yeah, I
in a
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm extremely fussy eater. And so yes, I raise my own chickens and I raise them for eggs and I raise them for meat. And so those are actually two separate species of chicken. I initially actually was raising the local uh, chicken breed, whatever the heck that is. I have no idea what it is.
Mm.
And I was raising it for eggs, and I assumed that I would also raise them for meat. And actually, what I discovered is with the local hens, they don't have enough meat. Um, and so yeah, so I kind of my chicken keeping has kind of evolved. And so basically what I do now is I have layers, and
Mhm.
basically a layer is on a kind of like a special diet where they actually produce one egg a day, like a hen. And so I have them for eggs, and then I have broiler slash meat chickens, which is basically the same chicken that you would buy in the grocery store or the same chicken you would eat at a restaurant. So I raise those chickens myself and I slaughter them myself. So, anyways, getting to the kind of the breakfast part, I being a fussy eater, I basically eat 4 fried eggs every day for breakfast, 7 days a week. So I eat about 28 eggs for for breakfast. Now, I'm not every once in a while because I do actually bring eggs to a few locals in the village. So sometimes I get run a little short on eggs, and so usually what I'll do is if I see that kind of scenario happening, I'll make myself some grilled cheese for breakfast instead. Um, but I mean, for all intent and purposes, I eat eggs 7 days a week, 4 eggs a day, so 28 eggs a week, and I don't eat I kind of have like a late breakfast kind of deal, so I don't have lunch. And then for supper, once again, being a fussy eater, historically 5 days a week I eat chicken with a 3/4 cup of rice, and 2 days a week I have spaghetti. And that honestly represents 90% of my diet for the last 4 years.
That's incredible.
Now, yeah, it is like, you know what? I just eat it. Now, I have been okay, because this is the thing is like because I am Canadian, I am accustomed to North American style eating kind of deal. The problem is when it comes to what we'll call processed food, there's very limited availability as far as what you like. I love chunky soup. I can't get chunky soup in this country. Okay. So actually, so a lot of times for like breakfast, lunch on Sundays, I have a box of Kraft dinner. I can get Kraft dinner, but it's also after 50 years of eating it, I've probably eaten about 10,000 boxes. Well, no, I've probably eaten 100,000 boxes of it. So I can only eat about half a box of the Kraft dinner before it's like, ugh. But see, the thing for me that then that means okay, you know what? I get to look forward to eggs again come Monday morning. So that's partly why. So I actually eat food that I don't even really like to eat, so that it keeps me motivated to eat eggs Monday morning. You don't want to
I like
understand
my
what the
eggs
heck
too.
goes on in here. Like it's just, you know what I mean. But now I have been supplementing. I have actually started making bagel pizzas. Sorry, because I actually can get the little mini bagels, and I get the mini bagels, and I put some spaghetti sauce. I don't use pizza sauce. I use spaghetti sauce because I already eat spaghetti, and I splurge. I splurge on the cheese, and then I put like one little pepperoni on it, and in the toaster oven. So about once a week, I might have pizza. Might depends if I get to the city for the little bagels. Once or twice, and I'll sometimes have what we'll call the Canadian version of tacos if I can get veggies. But that's the thing is sometimes it's weeks between me going to the city, which means I can't get any lettuce or tomatoes or whatever. So it could be weeks and weeks before tacos. But if I go to the city, I'll grab some lettuce, a cucumber, some green peppers, and tomatoes, and then I can have myself some American or Canadian style tacos. That represents completely 100% of my entire diet. That's it. But it does involve a heck of a lot of chicken, that's for sure.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But I know that you could do that. You know, like myself personally, I'd be insane.
Yeah.
I'd drive myself crazy. I'd probably start eating the animals off the trees.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah, but I just the thing is one that like I hate cooking, and
yeah,
in a sense I don't have time for food. Like I really don't. Like I mean, don't get me wrong. There's certain foods I love. I mean, I would kill for like a hamburger or this and that, but it just you can't get good. I mean, if I go to the Keys or if I go somewhere to like more of a city area for like a couple days off, hamburger and pizza the whole time. You know what I mean? It's and
oh
I
yeah,
pay kind of
yeah.
an arm and a leg for it, but that's kind of my splurge to have a little bit more Canadian. But see, we don't have in Belize. There's no McDonald's. There's no Burger King. There's no fast food chain.
It's great, man.
If I Yeah, like if I go to Guatemala, then I can get Burger King or McDonald's. If I go to Mexico, I can get Burger King or McDonald's. But in Belize, you don't get any of that. So
How long would it take to get to, say, like Guatemala or I forget the other one that you said there?
Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, if I were to catch the morning bus to Belize City, and then I would catch either a bus to Guatemala, a bus to Mexico, I would be there. I don't want to say before lunch, but I can get to Guatemala. Like I don't have a vehicle, like I do everything by bus. So it's like if you have a vehicle, you can be in either one of those countries within 2 hours. Like Belize is a very small country. But because I have to do the whole bus thing and then catch buses and wait for buses kind of deal and all that kind of stuff, for me to get to Guatemala or Mexico I would be in around lunchtime ish, maybe 1 o'clock, something I could be. But then, yeah, but I don't do that very often kind of deal.
Back to our iguanas.
Back to the iguanas.
So you put them up there. You got them in your loft. Time is going by. How many days went by before we actually got to see our little friends?
For me, it was about 80 days.
80 days. Okay.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, iguanas. Yeah, I mean, actually, I think iguanas are apparently they're 65 to 95 days. So, and if mine were 80 days, that means that they weren't in the ground that much or that long. I mean, it would only have been probably a few days, less than a week. And I accidentally dug them up kind of deal.
And all of a sudden, next thing you know, we've got them popping out, right?
We've got them popping out.
100% success rate. I'll go back to actually something I did myself. I was out fishing, and I heard this little sound, and I knew right away what it was, right? It was and I looked down, and there's a big snapper laying her eggs. And about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. So light's coming in, and I could see her doing it, dropping her eggs. And, I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. But then the part that bothered me was that I was on my way back to the campsite, and I remembered that they were actually going to dredge that whole area. They wanted to actually bring in sand to make more of a sandbar. And I couldn't let it go by. So grabbed my daughter Hunter, and I said, "Come on, let's go. We're gonna go and pull up those eggs. We're gonna pull up those eggs. We're gonna incubate those eggs." And I think I got 17 out of 18 eggs, all hatched perfectly, no problem. But then I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're imprinted animal. They're gonna go back to where they live, and that's their spot, right? What was, I gotta be honest, really cool was they brought the dredger in, and it was so swampy that the dredger sunk. I had to give it totally up. And so it's still swampy there. So I was able to go back and actually drop the babies off and let them go where they needed to be. So I know that delight on being able to say, okay, you know what? They didn't get smashed. They didn't get hurt. Like you're busy doing your shoveling. You could have just made a shovel's worth of eggs and put them off to the side and not even put any effort into it, but you care. And that's the part that I find really interesting. And the other thing too is even like a little bit of I used to work, both of us, we used to sell iguanas, but as time went by, for the public, I've come to the point where it's like I don't like them being sold to the general public in the sense of the fact that they're not an easy keep, right? They're an actual very different kind of an animal. You can see some of them people working with them, and they're beautiful, lovely creatures. but they can also have
Yeah.
a heck of a temper, and they're fully loaded. They've got teeth, they've got whips, they've got spikes, they got everything, right? So, you know, it's nice to see that as time goes by that our love of that creature's still there, so strong. And like I say, I was watching the babies. We're going to see that right now. But I was looking and seeing those little babies running around and scurrying, and just remembering how, you know, they're such a beautiful creature, right?
Oh,
so we're gonna take a look at that video, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more. Okay?
So on April 10th, I was digging some cement mix, sand gravel mix out of this pile, and I accidentally dug into a nest of green iguana eggs, which I very carefully extracted from the pile and put them in a homemade incubator. And here we are, I believe it's June 29th, and we have a bunch of baby iguanas. There was 19 eggs in the nest, and I was able to extract every one without any damage, and I actually had 100% hatch rate. 19 eggs and 19 little baby iguanas. So anyways, yeah, I'm just going to do a quick video of me releasing them. Basically, exactly where they got laid a few months earlier. So these are newborn baby green iguanas. Come on, guys. Yeah, they're just getting their first experience of natural sunlight. They're obviously quite dark because, yeah, they were inside in the dark. And once they heat up a little bit in the sun, they will turn their nice bright green. 19 little baby iguanas being released. Just thought I would take a quick moment to share that.
There you are. You've done it. You successfully, and it's 2 years in a row that's happened to you, right?
2 years in a row it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do a lot of cement work. It's kind of weird living in the jungle, but I do a lot of cement work, and so that usually means that basically when the dry season comes, I get a dump truck load of the cement, the sand gravel mix. Yeah, perfect egg laying medium for these guys. And it's interesting because it's like, but the thing is I'm going to say like 400 feet at least from the river. And so chances are that's probably why it's like I only get like one, or I only discover one nest. I mean, who knows? You know, I mean, it's only randomness of just digging in the spot, and then there they are. I mean, there's still the whole mound that, you know, there could be other nest kind of deal. So, but yeah, basically every year I get like about one dump truck load of sand gravel mix, and you know, the iguanas are up in the tree, right? They're looking down for that perfect spot, and it's like they know where to go.
It's very interesting to see them when they're touching the ground. We don't think about it, but they're actually, their brain's saying, okay, look at this, is all perfect situation. The sun's going to come up like this, probably this much rain, that this has got good drainage. You know, we don't think about ourselves that way when we're seeing an animal, but they are actually kind of in that direction doing that. So you've got other lizards running around too. What other kind of lizards you got going around there that you see quite often?
Well, the most common one would be the spiny tail iguana. Which that is also a favorite lizard of mine. Just the black and the white and the gray, like especially the males. You know, the females can be quite dull, but the males, like a full size alpha spiny tail, is pretty damn impressive. And that is probably the most common. In fact, in one sense, they're actually to consider. I would never consider them a pest, but in a sense, they are a pest. Like I actually this morning was making some cages to put over some vegetables that I'm trying to grow to protect them, so that these vegetables, the plants can grow long enough before the spiny tails go in there and eat them up. So they're a pest. If you keep chickens and you have like little chicks running around, which I never did, and the reason I don't do that partly is because the spiny tails. So the spiny tails can be a bit of a nuisance in one sense, but when you love reptiles, it's one of those things. It's like, well, yeah, I'll pick the reptile. I'll pick the lizard. You're allowed to stay, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they're definitely more common than the green iguana, for sure. And they are the one that actually generally is around the house. Like now that I have dogs, they're not so much like in the immediate area because they know better. But before the dogs, in all honesty, if I found, it wouldn't be like I could literally show you. I could find like a good half dozen, like literally around the perimeter of the house. Now they've got their little territories beyond the fence, kind of deal. But it's like if we went out right now, it wouldn't be hard to find 6+ spiny tails. I have a tree behind the house that usually has half a dozen just in that tree alone, kind of deal. So that would easily be the most common lizard, that's for sure. We do have a couple of gnolls. Probably the most common gnoll would be a ghost gnoll, but even that's not that common. But they're around. I actually found a gnoll the other month. I thought it was a brown gnoll because sometimes you can see the brown gnolls, but it was a silky gnoll.
Oh yeah.
Probably the other cool lizard that I have would be the Yucatan banded gecko. Yeah. So we have the small banded gecko.
Yeah, I actually bred those little guys. Those little American geckos.
Yeah. They're. I mean, it's. I'm only like I did actually have one at one time living under the house, directly actually underneath me. Actually caught him twice, but I never saw him again, kind of deal. And that's I'm trying to think, am I missing something obvious? But I don't. Well, and of course, house geckos. I got tons of house geckos living in the house. That's for sure. And I think that's, in a sense, from a lizard perspective. I mean, we do have some other, like in the country we have helmeted iguanas. Never seen one. Would love to, for sure. That would be like a huge highlight. I just don't get out very often, and I've never seen one here. So we have the helmeted iguana. And the other super cool one that we have, once again, I've never seen one, and I think that would even like be ultra rare, is we have the conehead lizard. I think it is an iguana. The conehead, the green one with the pointy back, kind of the really bright green.
Iguanidae or a gamid might be.
Yeah.
But I think Iguanidae.
Probably. But we have the conehead. That's in the country.
We'll double check on that and send it up onto the page here.
Yeah, the edits. And I think in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of like the main lizards. Like there'd be more iguanas, more gnolls for sure, and there'd be a few more geckos, like topad geckos, like kind of like the grayish, kind of like house gecko type gecko. Yeah. Nothing too exotic in a sense. And we do have some of like those whiptail amoeba type lizards.
Yes,
I've never seen them here. Like on the farm. And the other thing we do have is we do have a couple of the kind of the spiny tail, like the crevice spiny tail. There's a few different species. If I'd known you would have brought this up, I might have looked at it, but it's all good. I just kind of but we do have crevice spiny type lizards. Mm-hmm. I was actually in the Pine Ridge earlier in the year, and I actually caught a pink belly. Yeah, it was kind of shot. It was sort of because I used to sell the pink belly swifts as kind of like a common pet store lizard, and I had never even actually realized they were actually here because I'd never seen them around the farm. But I actually did catch a pink belly on a one-day excursion that I did with some other people. So yes, I caught a pink belly, but I know we do have a few of the other crevice type spiny lizards.
That for somebody like you and me, you start off at a certain direction, maybe like you say in the pet trade. You develop yourself, and then as time goes by, like okay, pink belly swift. You maybe when you were in the pet trade saw 100 of them.
Yeah.
You see one in the wild, and your whole brain, right?
Yeah, of course, yes, absolutely.
That love and respect for the animal really, also was like, and I remember me seeing stuff in Florida, I think it was, and I got all excited, and everybody was looking at me like I had a hole in my head, that there was something weird about me, because I was like, well, that's a brown and all, that's the Cuban ones have been introduced, and the same with Cuba too, right? I got all excited by seeing little, there was amoebas in the backyard of the one house, and these two amoebas actually ran together. It was kind of cool to see. But yeah, like just you see it in the wild, and you're just like, you're flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Like
places where you go and they'll have those little small lizards scurrying everywhere. I got to be honest, that's not really the scenario I have here on the farm. I don't really understand it. Like, but it's like it's weird how some places it's like you can go somewhere and it's like they'll have some of the smaller species, whether the whiptails or the spinies or knolls, and you could kind of see them everywhere. I don't really have that. I guess unfortunately, what I have is the spiny tail. Though that for me, that's the one that kind of is the common like lizard that kind of scurries everywhere. Is the spiny tail. So not the small ones, but the big ones. It is what it is.
It's been a great conversation. I'm loving this today.
Awesome.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to end off. But before I finish here, I think next time, no matter what the subject is, I want to touch a little back on those chickens. It's like, I'm just kind of curious as to how you maintain those guys. Don't want to know about it now.
All right.
Maybe on the next video, because it just sounds really interesting. And that how do you go about that? About some of the other guys.
All right.
You know what? I think maybe what we should do is dedicate a little bit to our spiny tailed iguanas too, maybe for the next video. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Okay, we can see what we can do there.
Yeah, because like you say, you can actually maybe even go around this time and maybe even show a few of them running around if you see them. And that'd be kind of cool. But you got some good videos for it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because the one thing about spiny, like especially like when they're in the trees, it's like you can see them fairly clearly through, like looking at them. But sometimes on the camera lens, like when you have to zoom in because they're up in the tree, it gets a little bit fuzzy. So it's like, I can see it, but anyone watching the video be like, I think I know what he's pointing at.
When I do that with Snakes and Coffee, we've had videos that I was like, oh, we saw the. Now you can't even see it. Like you think that you can see it, but you can't see it on the camera. The camera's a little bit of a different eye. Yeah. I think that definitely. I don't know why. I'm just gonna ask you about chicken farming for the next one. And then I think definitely one on Howler monkeys. You and I both have a big respect. That was my grade 5 project that I did. Was on Howler monkeys, and I stood at the front of the class doing the Howler monkey howl, and I got an A.
You're a better man than me because I will not attempt it. I will not attempt it. I have too much respect for I love the noise too much to butcher it. So you will not.
I butcher it. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, well, we whenever we do that video, we can offer the real thing. It's pretty darn impressive.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, so I think like a great day. Thanks for being here for us today. Have a good one. Check it out, guys. Do another plug for yourself, buddy.
Yeah. So all my social media channels is safariarie.ca for website, safariarie.ca. For Facebook, Safari Arie. For YouTube, Safari Arie. For Instagram, the original Safari Arie. Basically, if you Google Safari Arie, you'd be amazed at what'll pop up. That's for sure.
Cool. Yeah. No, I think so too. I remember following you, so I think it's gonna be great, buddy. Great day.
Yep.
Peace out, brother.
Yep.